Good morning, and thank you for attending the I-495 and I-270 P3 program International Industry Forum. My name is Lisa Choplin. I am the director of the I-495 and I-270 P3 office for the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration, and I will also be your MC for today's event. We have a great turnout today with a capacity crowd of 550 attendees, representing 13 countries. Participants include concessionaires, developers, contractors, prime engineering firms, investment firms, financial and legal advisors, just to name a few. We also have 208 MBE and DBE companies, 8 trade organizations, and 2 foreign embassies, Canada and Japan, here today. Before we get started with our presentation, I'd like you all sit back and enjoy a short video. We have a great day planned this morning. The agenda is up on the screen. It lays out the morning. Not only do we have a presentation on the program, but we also have opportunities throughout the morning to network, especially with our MBE and DBE companies here in attendance. So let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Pete Ron, the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation.
Good morning. So I have a question. How many of you here are from a time zone that's 5 hours different from where we are right now? Raise your hands here. All right. So I was wondering how many people were here at 2 a.m. for your local time. So we're all in sync. Very much appreciate you being here today. As Lisa had said, we believe today is going to be an exciting day. Certainly for us, we hope it is for you as well, as you come into the nation's capital region for a project that is vitally important to Maryland and I believe the entire capital region. You saw on the slides or in the video the governor announcing the project, and when we were putting this together, in fact, you all were here exactly 1 year ago. Now, I don't say you all because it was a smaller group, but many of you were here 1 year ago, and it was actually 1 year ago today when we had our first industry forum to let industry know what we were intending. Today, the project is much farther along. I believe you know that our PSR, the pre-solicitation report, was released, I believe, 2 evenings ago, and providing a lot more information about the project, which should allow you to be able to start your teaming arrangements if you had not already. But you saw the governor making the announcement for the project, and we had looked within various publications to see were there larger P3s being proposed for highways around the globe, and we could not find any larger than our estimate of $9 billion. And so the governor, when he made his announcement, had said that we were the largest highway P3 in North America. So at the cabinet meeting we had afterwards, I said, Governor, I've got to correct you because it's not North America, but it's the globe. This is the largest highway P3 at the time, anywhere on the globe. So the next time the governor spoke, he said, we have the largest highway P3 in the universe. And so I think you can see that in Maryland, we think big. And that's exactly what we are doing here today. And what you can see, go back. Right. So this is a picture that we've been using. Unfortunately, it is not an uncommon sight. It was not difficult for us to get that photo. That is what we experience nearly every day on the highways within the National Capital Region. And I can also point out that it wasn't difficult to get a photo that was in focus. because the traffic is moving at about 3 miles an hour here. So this is the issue that we've got to address. We have to address the issue of the choking congestion that we have within the nation's capital region. So what you can see here today in these 3 slides are, here's current congestion, here's congestion in 7 years, and congestion in 22 years. If you notice, it's not just congestion on the highways, but it is congestion among the arterials and in neighborhood streets. The applications like Waze and Google are taking traffic through neighborhoods. It's taking it in front of schools and parks and homes where that traffic was never intended to be. So we have got to do something to bring traffic back to where it should be, and also to keep it moving for a number of reasons. In fact, our calculations show that the increased costs to users has grown by 33% since 2013 to a total of now annual costs of $1.3 billion. And it is continuing to grow. We need innovative solutions. The structure of this P3 is one that will allow, in fact, challenge industry to bring the most innovative solutions to the problems we have. It is an acknowledgement that working together, we believe we can find a better solution than we can by ourselves. That is why this is structured in the way it is. It is structured to allow the various proposers and teams to bring their concepts on how we can address these problems. I was asked early on, are we going to allow ATCs? And the answer is no. Because every proposal is an ATC. You only need ATCs if you want to propose alternatives to our or the state's or owner's proposal. We are not presenting you a design and approach. You are bringing your solutions. Your proposals are, in fact, the ATC. I and we have faith in you as the industry to bring responsible, efficient solutions to the problems that we are experiencing in the national capital region. You know, there's a lot of conversation that's going on today as we are in the NEPA process about the desire by some to say we don't need highways, we need just more transit. And in fact, we are investing significant amounts of money in transit today. Over the next 6 years, we will be putting an additional $1 billion into WMATA to support its capital program. We are constructing, as you saw, a $5.6 billion purple line for transit within the capital region. But as we look at urban areas around the country, we can look at New York City, which is a densely populated urban area, and they can achieve 56% of those traveling by transit. But if you look at metropolitan regions that are more similar to the nation's capital, what you find as a suburban environment that in the Los Angeles metropolitan area, only 9.8% of travel is by transit. So we have to recognize that the nation's capital needs a balanced approach to a transportation system that includes both transit and highways. They are both important to the region if we are going to prevent the continuation of choking congestion for the region. And we know that that congestion has true impacts in people's daily lives, their quality of life, as well as economic impacts to the region, either through the inefficiency of businesses operating within that environment, as well as people that simply will not accept jobs within the region because they don't want to put up with that sort of congestion. So the need's clear. So we have the slides that demonstrated where we are headed. And what it points out, and I hope I'm not stealing this from Greg Slater, but the point is that when you have congestion like we have in the nation's capital region, it can't get worse when you've got parking on the highways. It can only get longer. And it can continue to spill over into neighborhoods. We've got to do something about that. So we have a survey that's been conducted. We had over 7,400 residents of the region had responded. And it was amazing what came back. 84 respondents always or usually experience delays due to congestion when using I-495 or I-270. When you consider that between those two roadways we have 500,000 travelers a day, when you consider 84% of 500,000 are experiencing that delay, always or usually. And I think the problem of usually experiencing it is every bit as much of a problem as always, because it means you have to allow the time to get somewhere in case it is congested. So you are wasting time if you in fact experience one of those rare days when you can get somewhere in a timely manner. 77% of respondents have reported taking an alternate route to avoid congestion on 495 and 270 that took them through or near residential neighborhoods. 44% of respondents indicated that congestion causes extra costs besides just time, such as extra fees at daycare for being late to pick up their children, or missed medical appointments, and reduced quality of life. 43% of respondents who own or work for a business indicated they make fewer service calls or deliveries as a result. And 88% of respondents agree that addressing congestion on 495 and 270 in Maryland is an important priority. Our population is telling us they want us to do something about congestion. Although I think the dominant opinion of many was that their life was simply going to be consigned to a miserable commute. They thought that was the life that they were going to have to live. Well, we know that we can do something about it working with all of you. Working with you and your ideas on how we can efficiently, effectively, and environmentally responsibly address this issue. To quote our president, which I don't do very often, I would say that this is huge as to what we need to do. And it also shows that Governor Hogan is exactly on target to address this issue. This is the time to do it. The need is clear, and the viability of a P3, we believe, is clear. So, what we are seeking is transformative and innovative improvements. And I want to stress those two words. We are looking for transformative and innovative improvements. I know you all have heard, and from probably a number of owners, that they want innovative proposals, and then when you start working with them, what they really mean is they want exactly what they always do. I can tell you that is not the case here. We are not looking for replications of other P3s that have been done around the country. We are not looking for replications of projects that have been done in neighboring states. We are approaching this in a way that says this is your opportunity to demonstrate that you have the experience and knowledge to take advantage of this opportunity to show the rest of the country and the rest of the world how a P3 should be done and how it should be done that it is fair to you and it is fair to us and it is fair to the residents of this state. So, we are excited about where this is going to take us. We are open to ideas, and we have 14 or 17 one-on-ones scheduled over the next 2 days. And we are anxious to have genuine conversations with you about structure and approaches and opinions. We may ultimately not accept those, but we want. See, I want to make sure we will accept somebody's at some point, right? So I'm not saying tell us what you think and then we ignore it. But what I'm telling you is that the bolder, the bigger, the better ideas that are brought to us are going to be the ones that we listen to and structure this P3 with. So thank you for being here. Tremendous turnout. 550 registrants, 60 standbys to be able to come in. Huge interest, and we appreciate that interest. We think it means that that's a great sign of the viability of this project. So thank you for being here. We look forward to continuing to work with you, and I hope with many of you, we will be working with you for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Next, I would like to introduce to you Greg Slater. Greg is the administrator of the Maryland State Highway Administration, Maryland Department of Transportation. Greg will provide an overview of the traffic relief program, which the I-495 and I-270 P3 program is just a small part of. I'm just kidding. Greg?
Thank you, Lisa. It's really great to be here this morning. A lot of familiar faces and a lot of new ones, which is exactly what we were looking for. As we tackle today, it's a really important day for us. We're hoping to have you leave us today with more solidified plans on how to tackle the issues with us. And I'm going to stress a lot of the points that Pete made, but I'm also going to stress a few different ones as well. So what you're going to learn today is a variety of things. One is, what is the traffic relief plan? And it's bigger than the P3. I know a lot of you are very interested in the P3, but it's much bigger than the P3. We're going to talk about the program goals and why it's needed now. We're going to talk about where we are with our environmental studies and our NEPA process. It's running independently. We're going to talk about our program structure and our team. We're going to update you on the solicitation process as well as reveal where our first focus will be programmatically, and then talk about MDOT's vision for inclusion and opportunity within the P3 program, a really, really important part of the program and its success. So the first thing I will touch on is the traffic relief plan. You're often going to hear that term and then think somehow it's interchangeable with the P3. The P3 is one part of that. The traffic release plan is really our innovative approach, our programmatic approach to addressing congestion across the state. 495 and 270 are the P3 program. We're going to tackle that, but we're also tackling Maryland 295 and continued discussions with the federal government. I-695, where we're integrating some really, really impactful transportation systems management and ITS solutions to really help with a lot of that commute. 95 with our partners at the Transportation Authority extending the express toll lanes up towards Delaware. And then these other major corridors where we're upgrading our arterials to function much better. The system is where we need to focus. We have projects, but our system is where we need to focus. It all works together, and we want it to be successful. We want our P3 to be successful in working with the rest of the system. So as we deliver projects, we're still going to focus on the system. And the P3 is our largest effort on 495 and 270, which is the most congested part of our system every single day. Pete touched a little bit about some of the congestion problems on the Capital Beltway. When I talk about that split there where the American Legion Bridge is, the number 4 is the one that always comes to my mind. That roadway, every single day, is backed up for 4 miles for 4 hours. 4 miles for 4 hours. So congestion doesn't get worse, it gets longer. So it's not a peak hour anymore, it's peak 4 hours. So if you look at the Beltway there, we have 3 components of our study. The first one is our managed lane study, which is that blue portion that you will see, which is up to 370 across American Legion, around the Beltway to just west of Maryland 5. We have another component there on the south side, which is that just west of Maryland 5 across Woodrow Wilson connecting to Virginia. We have another component which is north of 370 going up towards Frederick. And then all of that connecting back in with VDOT's next project, where I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well, and then their existing toll lanes. So it's a network. Our customers that are stuck in traffic every day, they don't know whether they're on the local system, the state system, the federal system. They don't know and they don't care. They just want to get to where they want to get to. So we have to focus on the system. We have to work together on these solutions. Our P3 program delivery goals are very simple, but very complex. We need you all focused on them as we deliver. Congestion relief. That is very simply our goal. We want the solution that delivers the most congestion relief possible. That's how we make an impact in what we do every day. Minimize impacts. I'm going to finish with innovation, but minimize impacts. At every level, there are some sections of this corridor that have very, very tight footprints. We need to work within those. We want to minimize impacts not only with our solution, but with our partners and during construction. It's a heavily traveled corridor. We can't shut it down while we build it, so we need you to focus front to back across that. No net cost to the state. That's a big goal, programmatically. We know that the way we are structuring this, each section functions a little bit differently. At the end of this, we want to walk away with congestion relief and no net cost to the state. One section will make another section whole. One section will make us whole. We're going to work together. No net cost to the state. Accelerated delivery. It's accelerated delivery in our NEPA process in the beginning. It's accelerated delivery in our solicitation process. It's an accelerated delivery in the design-build process. It's too urgent. The Secretary showed the traffic models that are 7 years from now. That's before you know it, we will be there. I remember, early in my career doing long-range traffic models that were 2020, and I don't know whether that's an indication of my age or where we've been, but those models creep up on us. And this is going to be no stranger. The days of delivering projects over a 20-year period are gone. We can't spend 10 years in the NEPA process and 5 years in the design process and then 5 years in the construction process. We need to deliver these sooner to our customers. And shockingly innovative. We are challenging ourselves, we are challenging you, and we are challenging everyone across the board to think differently, think creatively, and think innovatively in delivering this project. That's in our NEPA process, where we're looking at a completely different way of delivering this. We have a solution as we're looking through the range of solutions. We're also going to deliver you an envelope of property. This is your limit. Bring us a solution in that limit. We want to challenge you at every level. We're challenging ourselves in that process by thinking differently in NEPA. We're challenging our team, our GEC team, as we start to bring them on board into thinking differently in the solicitation. How do we enhance the delivery of this project? How do we redefine the way these projects are delivered? How do we promote innovation and creativity? And how do we promote value and competition for our solution and give everyone a path to success? How do we build that into our process so that everybody's investing? And then challenging innovation and delivery with the design, build, construction community. Bring us those solutions. When we give you an envelope to work in, bring us that innovative solution. Bring us that next wave, something that hasn't been done before. We can look at what's been done all over the globe and all over this country, but we're open to things that have never been done before. Innovate us, shock us in what you're delivering. Our impetus for the innovation is the existing traffic conditions. The highest volume freeway sections in Maryland are within the program area. That's why we focus there. Today, on average, severe congestion lasts 7 hours on 270 and 10 hours each day on 495. That's not a peak hour anymore. Program includes several of the most unreliable freeway sections in Maryland, high variable travel times day to day, and many sections experience 15-mile-per-hour travel during those time periods. We can't wait any longer. It's holding back our citizens from their job access. It's holding back our commerce. It's holding back our business development. It's holding back our state every day, and we have to address that solution. So we need bold change. I responded to a question, probably been a year and a half ago, on why we were thinking so big on this delivery. And what came to me was very simply, big problems need big solutions. And that's where we're thinking. So if you look at where we are today and how bad it is, that's how it's going to grow. So I-270, 370 to 495, 260,000 cars a day. Think about that 10 hours of congestion. What's it going to look like if it grows to close to 300,000 by 2040? 2040 is not that far off. It's limiting our state, and we need to break that loose. If you look at 495, 253 to 282, 235 to 252, and then on the south side, 230 to 245. This is not just the capital, this is not just the Beltway, this is the entire capital region. This is not just 270, it's the entire technology corridor all the way up to Frederick. That's how we need to think, and that's how we need to deliver. So our challenge to the industry, as I stressed earlier in my remarks, is innovation. You look at some of these innovations here today on this slide, we're not just talking about narrow lane widths and different solutions. You see these are just examples from all over the globe. But as we put these examples up, this may or may not be what we're looking for. We want something new. We want something innovative. We want you to think creatively. And we want you to bring those ideas to us as we solve this problem together. So I thank you for your time this morning, and I'll be back up a little later, but at this point I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thanks, Greg. Let's talk about the program and catch you up with what we've been doing, where we are now, and where we're going in the future. So as Greg mentioned, the I-495 and I-270 P3 program covers all of I-495 and I-270 within the borders of Maryland. But in order to move this massive program forward, we have identified several study areas. The first study area under the P3 program is the I-495 and I-270 Managed Lane Study. It includes Interstate 495, the Capital Beltway, from just south of the American Legion Bridge to west of Maryland 5, and Interstate I-270 from I-495 to I-370, including the east and west I-270 spurs. We also have future studies that are planned on I-270 from Interstate 370 to north up to I-70 in Frederick, which will begin in 2019. And then on the east side of I-495 from west of Maryland 5 to the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. In order to accomplish this all, we've been working with our partners in Virginia. So independent of our managed lane study, the Virginia Department of Transportation has initiated the I-495 NEXT study. The study is being developed to extend the existing express toll lanes on I-495 in Virginia from the Dulles Toll Road to south of the American Legion Bridge, tying into our limits of the managed lane study. Over the past year, we have been working very closely with our partners at the Virginia Department of Transportation, and we will continue to work closely and coordinate our independent studies to ensure that they are compatible. So now I'm going to spend a few minutes in talking about the managed lane study, again, where we've been and where we are today and where we're moving forward with it. In May of 2018, the Federal Highway Administration provided concurrence on the managed lane study purpose and need. The purpose of this study is to develop a travel demand management solution that will address congestion, improve trip reliability, reliability on 270 and 495, and connecting the study limits with enhancing the existing and planned multimodal connectivity. In addition, we'll address the following needs: accommodating the existing traffic and long-term traffic growth, enhancing trip reliability, provide additional roadway travel choices, accommodate homeland security, and improve the movement of goods and services. Additional goals of the study include providing funding sources for financial viability and developing it in an environmentally responsible manner. This study is under the President's executive order to deliver within a 2-year period. So as Greg and Pete have mentioned previously, not only are we on an accelerated process to deliver the P3 program, but this study is running concurrent with that. This past spring, the Notice of Intent was published in the Federal Register, officially kicking off the National Environmental Policy Act, better known as NEPA, process. And shortly thereafter, we held 4 scoping meetings around the corridor to seek public input. In July, we held 4 public workshops to present the purpose and need, the preliminary range of alternatives, we have 15, screening criteria, and once again, to receive public input. We had almost 600 attendees at those public workshops, and we received comments from over 2,000 individuals and agencies throughout the end of August. We are currently in the process of continuing our environmental studies and further evaluating and screening the alternatives, and we plan to present the alternatives retained for detailed study, ARDS, this coming spring, 2019. Throughout the next year and into the winter of 2020, we'll identify the preferred alternative and hold public hearings on the draft environmental impact statement, DEIS. And finally, in the fall of 2020, we will seek approval on the record of decision and the final EIS. As you have already heard this morning, but I'm going to repeat it, the current cost of congestion in the Maryland National Capital Region is nearly $1.3 billion annually, a 33% increase since 2013, and it's still growing. In order to bring relief to the region, reducing the significant congestion, improving the quality of life, and enhancing the economy, we need to deliver this program quickly and efficiently. The way to accomplish this is to develop the P3 program concurrently with the managed lane study. Although we envision multiple revenue risk P3 agreements to design, finance, operate, and maintain the improvements necessary along the 70-mile corridor, we will have strategically aligned the first phase to maximize efficiencies in delivering the congestion relief to the National Capital Region. The Maryland Transportation Authority has joined the team as they are the state agency charged with the ability to toll highways in the state of Maryland. MDOT and MDTA have a long-standing partnership, and together we will continue to work collaboratively as reporting agencies to advance this program. We have made great strides in the development of an intergovernmental agreement that addresses the complexity of having two reporting agencies that are going to be signatories to the P3 agreement. And as such, MDOT, through its dedicated resources, will manage and administer the program, while MDTA will use its authority to establish the toll rate setting process and set parameters that will be included in the developer proposals. Many of you will be familiar with the majority of this structure that's presented in front of you, but there are some areas that I would like to point out, given the roles of the Maryland Department of Transportation and the Maryland Transportation Authority. As already noted, MDOT and MDTA are working together as the reporting agencies. We will both sign a 50-year P3 agreement with the selected developer, and will have defined roles as I just noted in the previous slide. In order to pledge the toll revenues to the developer, the Maryland Transportation Authority will create a new trust indenture and issue an amount of toll revenue bonds. The residual toll revenues would be pledged to the developer, and the amount of the toll revenue pledged to the authority bonds would be established as part of the solicitation with the appropriate safeguards to the developer. At financial close, the developer will finance the construction of the phase. The developer debt will be non-recourse to the state of Maryland. And then during the operations period, the developer will receive the excess toll revenues. At the end of the 50-year P3 agreement, each facility will be handed back to Maryland in a contractually defined state of good repair. As was brought up earlier in the morning, over the past year, we've been bringing on a team that we need to bring this program forward successfully. So we have a great team that we have accumulated at this point that has a proven record in the P3 world to deliver on success and push innovation. Our team includes Ernst & Young as the financial advisors, Ashurst and Venable as our legal advisors, CDM Smith as our traffic and revenue team, Rummel, Klepper & Call as our NEPA consultant, and we are in the final stages of bringing on our general engineering consultant to provide the overall program management support to the P3 office. At this time, I'm going to ask Jeff Folden to come to the stage. Jeff is the Deputy Director of the I-495 and I-270 P3 office.
All right, thank you, Lisa. As the Secretary mentioned earlier, MDOT and MDTA, together as reporting agencies, submitted the pre-solicitation report this week to the Legislative Budget Committees, the Department of Legislative Services, the State Treasurer and Comptroller for their review and comment. This report's available for review on our program website at www.495-270-p3.com under P3 information. This pre-solicitation report outlines the rationale for P3 delivery, including the proposed structure, the value of investment in the state transportation infrastructure envisioned under the 495 and 270 P3 program, the key benefits and risks of P3 delivery to the state, potential workforce implications, economic development opportunities, and environmental implications associated with the P3 delivery, preliminary information on debt affordability, and a preliminary overview of the proposed solicitation process for the first phase of the program. The submittal follows completion of the MDOT and MDTA's internal screening process. Approval to advance the pre-solicitation report was received from the MDOT and MDTA steering committees, P3 steering committees, the MDTA board, and the Transportation Secretary last month. The submittal of the pre-solicitation report is a critical first step for MDOT and MDTA in seeking the official designation as a public-private partnership from the Maryland Board of Public Works. Once the review and comment period for the pre-solicitation report is complete, and after careful consideration of any comments we receive, we will be moving forward for an official designation for the Board of Public Works as a public-private partnership. Upon receiving the approval of a public-private partnership from the Board of Public Works, we will move forward with the first solicitation of Phase 1 for the I-495 and I-270 P3 program. A 50-year concession is envisioned as part of the first phase. Phase 1, highlighted on the map, will begin near the George Washington Memorial Parkway in Virginia, where it would tie to the extension of the I-495 express lanes currently under development by the Virginia Department of Transportation. Phase 1 would include the reconstruction and or rehabilitation of the American Legion Bridge over the Potomac River to accommodate any new price-managed lanes that may be approved under our NEPA process. Construction of the price-managed lanes would then continue on I-495 to I-95 for approximately 17 miles. As part of the 50-year concession agreement, the developer will be responsible for the operations and maintenance of the price-managed lanes and associated assets, with MDOT retaining operations and maintenance responsibilities for the general purpose lanes. The developer will be responsible to finance the entire phase using toll revenues collected, and the revenue risk will be retained by the developer. Over the next few slides, we're going to walk through some specific areas of the first phase to provide an overview of the corridor. As I noted, the first phase begins in Virginia, near the George Washington Memorial Parkway, which is shown at the bottom of the aerial photograph on this slide. It then extends across the American Legion Bridge. The American Legion Bridge, shown in the bottom right of the slide, is a bottleneck for flow of traffic in the region. It's over a quarter mile in length and has 4 through lanes in each direction. Additionally, there's an auxiliary lane in each direction which connects the George Washington Parkway to the Clara Barton Parkway. The original outside spans of the bridge were constructed and opened to traffic in 1963. The bridge was widened and opened to traffic in 1986 by constructing a new span in the median to get to today's configuration. Both the George Washington and Clara Barton Parkway are owned by the National Park Service. The Park Service also owns the land north of the Potomac River and in the southeast quadrant. The historic C&O Canal runs through the Northern National Park Service land parallel to the Clara Barton Parkway. Protection of this parkland and the C&O Canal is of utmost importance to the National Park Service. MDOT's initiated coordination with NPS on concepts for the American Legion Bridge, and will be developing an agreement that, once complete, will be provided as part of the request for proposal documents. After the Clara Barton Parkway, 495 continues north to an interchange with Maryland 190 and Cabin John Parkway, then continues under the Maryland 191 bridge to an interchange with the I-270 West Spur, shown in the aerial photograph. At the 270 West Spur, there are multiple neighborhoods in close proximity, along with Thomas Branch, which is a stream that runs parallel to the west side of the Beltway and 270 between the Beltway and the Bethesda Country Club. After the interchange with the 270 West Spur, I-495 then turns to the east and travels to an interchange with Maryland 187 and ultimately to another major interchange with the I-270 East Spur. At this interchange, ramps also exchange with Maryland 355, which crosses 495, and the WMATA red line also crosses over 495 at this interchange, as shown at the photo on the right. As 495 continues east from the 270 East Spur, it parallels Rock Creek and Rock Creek State Park. This is a very important resource to Montgomery County, and the park includes a hiker-biker trail along with many facilities that are used by the community. Protection of the nature of this parkland and the community facilities is of utmost importance as part of this program. Continuing east I-495 crosses under the CSX bridge. As you can see in the picture to the right, there's minimal space under the bridge. And we're looking for solutions to address this constraint from the industry without impacting the nearby communities in the area. Continuing east, I-495 has an interchange with Maryland 97. At this interchange, the Forest Glen Metro is to the north of 495 near 97, and the WMATA Red Line runs under the ground through the interchange. As you can see from the photos to the right, there's existing sound barriers just off the shoulders of 495, and the communities are in close proximity to the sound barriers. Additionally, to the far east of the picture, we have Holy Cross Hospital. We are looking for the private sector to bring their innovations in areas like this, to thread the needle through the community, through the important resources, and not impact them. Moving east, we've got another very tight area with the US 29 and Maryland 193 interchanges. Similar to 97, there's many communities in close proximity to these interchanges, as well as other facilities such as Montgomery Blair High School, the YMCA, and other community facilities. We're looking for a partner who can bring the congestion relief to the region while avoiding impacts to these important environmental resources and community facilities. Then after the 193 interchange, 495 continues east through Maryland 650 and ultimately meeting up with I-95 where the first phase will end. Now that we've walked through the first phase, I want to touch on the vision for phase one solicitation. As noted earlier by the Secretary, we're looking at a solicitation that is not like what you may have seen from other states or around the world. We want to focus our process on selecting a developer that can best meet and balance our goals and values. We want a partner who can move the most traffic, avoid, and I'll say that again, avoid community and environmental impacts, provide a concession payment and a revenue sharing to the state, and deliver fast with the least disruption to the travelers in the region and the communities adjacent to the roadways. We want our partner to be shockingly innovative in what you do. We want you to provide us high value, not only to MDOT, but to the community, to the citizens of Maryland. And we are looking for excellent customer service in doing that. Our process will focus on being open and providing flexibility to proposers to allow you to provide your best solutions in addressing our goals. Our solicitation will allow for maximum flexibility. It will include technical requirements that focus on the outcomes as opposed to the final form of the solution. And the evaluation proposal will also be focused on determining which proposer solutions can best meet our goals. And as I said, this may be different from what you've seen from other states, but don't expect detailed plans like you may see on other projects. However, we are looking to provide you the data you need to respond to requests for proposals. We've spent the last year gathering, and we'll spend the next year gathering more data. Information that we've developed and is under development includes topographic surveys, utility plans and designations, historical geotechnical and boring data, historical pavement data, record roadway plans, right-of-way plats and mosaic, existing and 24 traffic data, including simulation models and traffic and revenue data. In addition to gathering this information, we've started the process developing a draft programmatic P3 agreement. This is something that's never been done in the United States that we're aware of. This programmatic agreement will outline our current thinking on MDOT, MDTA, and developer responsibilities, major concession terms, utility and third-party coordination requirements, and other major terms related to areas such as hazardous materials, compensation events, relief events, and force majeure events. This agreement would outline the framework for the major terms across all future P3 agreements. And we intend to release this agreement in winter 2019 on our website and do encourage feedback from the industry on this document. Before beginning the next portion of our presentation, we're going to take a short 15-minute break. So we do encourage you to stop by the industry tables outside the room. Just meet with MDOT staff as well. We have MBE tables out there. And we do ask you to return to your seats in about 15 minutes when Secretary Rom will provide his remarks on his vision for inclusion, diversity in employment, and workforce development related to this transformative program in Maryland. Thank you.
Shh. Take your seats. Please get everyone from out there in. We're going to start the program again.
At this time, I'm going to ask, once again, the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation, Pete Ron, to come to the stage to give his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back in and reassembling so that we can continue the program. There is an opportunity, especially with a program like we are undertaking with these projects for P3s, to have an impact on minority business enterprises, disadvantaged business enterprises, that is really unmatched in a typical ongoing program. Today, I want to talk about what I view as the potential of really providing opportunities and changing trajectories in businesses and in individual lives. You may have heard before of the Missouri model that was developed for the I-64 project in St. Louis when we undertook the complete reconstruction of that 10 miles that went through really a very diverse set of neighborhoods. And I had been approached by the religious community. A number of ministers had come to me and said, we believe that the workforce, and they were particularly looking at workforce, should look like the neighborhoods that you're working in. And I had believed that was a fair request, and yet it is surprising how difficult it is to get through all of the processes to allow a real change in how industry and DOTs function. The typical way that is responded to is that contractors are required, if it's a federal project, to have so many hours of on-the-job training. And yet there's very little emphasis, in my opinion, on anything more than the hours. And so people cycle through those hours, maybe having 2 or 3 weeks of on-the-job training, and then someone else fills in and so on. And what happens is no one truly gets job training with 2 or 3 weeks of experience. And so we came together as a region to create a model we started working then with Compto. Julie Cunningham was the president, and she readily agreed to come to St. Louis and to start the process of engaging the community and coming up with a way to provide opportunity that was genuine. And eventually we ended up having agreements with unions, because I can assure you that it's in all likelihood this is going to be a union job as well. I mean, of course, that's going to be who you work with. But the unions had to be a part of that in order to structure apprentice programs that were different than what was typically done. We worked with training institutions to make sure that we were receiving people that had the right training to fit into the jobs that were available. We worked with the successful proposers and contractors to get the employees that's on the job training in a way that when they started at the beginning of the project, the goal was that they were there at the conclusion of the project. And a number of those participants ended up getting journeyman status as a result of their participation in that project. Now, I can tell you, talking to those people who went through the program, it changed their life. We have that opportunity here. A program of this size, construction of this size, means that whomever is the successful proposer and their team is going to have to draw upon resources across the region. That's why today we have a number of MBE and DBE firms, because we want them to be shaking your hand, introducing themselves, and putting in your mind some of the team members that will be available to you. If you would like more information about the Missouri model, I urge you to go to the Compto website. And there is a very good video that had been put together by Compto to give you an idea of what was done. Now, in my mind, the Missouri model is the minimum that we need to do. I would like you to create a Maryland model. A Maryland model that you can be proud that you were a part of putting together, and that the people that are involved in that can have pride in their work, in their company, and that we change, in fact, the trajectory of their businesses and their lives. That's a big goal. It can be done. And that's the expectation, is that the Maryland model will be what's referred to in the future of how we really engage that community. And so from the MBE, DBE community, I would say that the TRP, how you like all these letters, right? I'm convinced that acronyms are a secret language that government has so that only we understand it ourselves. So the traffic relief plan is going to be vital to the future of the MBE and DBE community within the nation's capital region. I urge you to stay involved. Stay focused that there's opportunity here, but you're going to have to earn it. You will have to earn that opportunity, but it will be worth it. So, I want to add something off script. Oh, and I know these guys, I see them all pop up, and they're worried what I'm going to say. But, so I was asked a question about this program, and they said, this is great. Are the feds really going to let you do it? So Greg Merle is right here. He's the division administrator. Greg has been with us and his team from the very beginning. He knows and has been helping us structure this. Support for our approach goes all the way to the Secretary's office at USDOT. So the question is, will the feds let us do this? No, they're not going to let us. They're going to help us do this. And there's a big difference there. This is a program that can change the direction of P3s in the United States. It's recognized as that in the USDOT, and we are very grateful for the partnership that we have with Greg and his staff and the staff in Washington, D.C. So if that answers your question, yes, the feds will let us do this. So with that, I just want you to know that we have high expectations on the involvement of DBEs, in MBEs, and in workforce diversity with disadvantaged employees. But it's going to be a team effort. We're not going to throw you all in the deep end and say, figure it out. We're here to help on that. So thank you with that. And then does Brad come up? So you'll introduce Brad. All right.
Thank you, Pete. It's my privilege now to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Brad Mims. Brad is the president and CEO of the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials, better known as COMPTO. He was selected as the president and CEO of COMPTO in May of 2017, and he comes with over 40 years of experience in the transportation industry, where he brings extensive government relations and transportation portfolio to the position. Brad?
Good morning. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Pete. I am very privileged to be able to appear before all of you this morning. And I take this whole issue very, very seriously, and I take it with a lot of heart, if I can say that. I want to talk to you a little bit in the beginning about COMPTO, the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials. COMPTO has been in existence for 48 years. We are what I consider the premier organization to promote diversity and inclusion in the transportation industry. We have 33 active chapters throughout the country. Many of you in this room are part of our organization, and I thank you for being a part of our organization. Many of you in this room are supporters, financial supporters of our organization, and I thank you for your support. I thank you for your commitment in making sure that we work to level the playing field in contracting and throughout the country. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in the DMV, been in this area all my life, been in Maryland for 30 years of my life. And I can tell you that I have seen this area grow like wildfire. I mean, we're talking about I-270. I remember when that was 70S, and I remember when it was built. I don't want to date myself, but I remember when it was built. When I was a kid, I remember the building of the Beltway. When I was a young man, I remember the building of the metro system. And during those times, I can honestly say there were not many, if any, minorities who participated in those opportunities back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. 48 years ago, the president of the WMATA board, the Reverend Jerry Moore, saw that minority folks weren't being included in the contracting and processes throughout the country. And he got together with other folks in jurisdictions around the country and coalesced, working with Federal Transit, or what was then Federal Transit Administration, but what was then UMTA, some of the federal highway, but at the U.S. Department of Transportation to make all of this happen. So we created the organization, we sought out and we struck out to make things happen and make things happen for minorities in the transportation industry, minority contractors in the transportation industry. I am also a part of the MDOT family. I served on the board of the MDTA for 4 or 5 years. I now serve as one of the Maryland representatives to the Washington Metropolitan Airports Authority, along with the hat that I wear as the head of COMPTO. I see all of the funds. I see all of the money that come down the pike. And in that whole process, you know, money's very, very limited now. And we have created this P3 process. And I am very happy that we are being innovative in what we're doing. There are many in the minority business community, minority contracting community who are concerned about P3s. And again, that there's no requirement to have minority contractors as part of this process. Well, as Pete said, we got Mr. Miro here from USDOT. We have others of you. We have the MDOT administrator family. We have Pete Ron, who created, again, the Missouri model. And for those of you who don't know, the Missouri model kind of cracked the egg to make sure, and Pete was very much a part of making that happen. And he was the one who touted that, made it happen, committed himself. So Pete, thank you so much for your participation. We're going to move forward, and as Pete and Lisa said, we're going to do better. Maryland's going to create its own model. It'll be the Maryland model. It will be a tremendous model. And COMTO and many of you will participate in that whole mission as we go forward. Again, your proposals are going to have to be innovative in terms of dealing with diversity and inclusion. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be here with these guys looking over everybody's shoulder, and I'm going to pretty much insist that I be part of that selection process as we go forward. So don't think that you guys are going to, anybody's going to slide through with, shaky proposals. The other part of it is many of us have seen a lot of things that some of the contractors do who are not just being totally honest in this whole process. So I'm going to be there, and I've committed to Pete that I'm going to be there. So as we go forward, and as it was emphasized again, we're going to be dealing with mentorship programs for minorities and women, DBEs, SBEs, MBEs. Again, we are going to deal with skill development programs. Your proposal should have something with regard to skills development. Again, collaboration between minority vendors and you the larger contractors as we're going forward. Again, we want to maximize opportunities for small business, women, and veteran firms as well. Again, on-the-job training, apprenticeship programs, we're going to look for all of that as we go forward. So with that, again, COMTO is very committed to workforce, and we'll be committed to dealing with workforce issues as we go forward in this particular, with these particular opportunities. We look forward to the innovation. We look forward to seeing what you guys produce. I know that there are going to be many things, and many people have talked to me about some of the things that they're going to come forward with. Again, there are a number of people here from the minority business community. Engage them, talk to them. They're fantastic firms. So with that, I thank you for having me here this morning. Thank you, Pete. And one other thing, Pete and the MDOT family were the principal sponsors of the COMTO National Conference this year. They did a fantastic job in working with us, and we look forward to working with the Maryland family as we go forward. So thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Brad. I'm going to ask Greg Slater to come back up to the podium, and Greg is going to talk about the opportunities for MBE and DBE and workforce development, the vision that we have as we move forward with this large P3 program.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Pete, and thank you, Brad. Brad, really, thank you for being here with us today. That partnership is critical for our success. As I talk about the program and the workforce and where the opportunities are, I can't help but pause at that word opportunity and how important it is for this project and really how it illustrates this project at all levels. Make no mistake about it. This program, the series of projects, the way we're going to develop this workforce is critical to our success, and opportunity is such a great word. This program will provide opportunity, this program will develop opportunity, and this program will expand opportunity for the entire industry throughout the course of its success. I can't help but really think about, as we talk about some numbers here, an estimated $9 to $11 billion in 2017 construction cost. This program is going to provide opportunity for construction, operations, maintenance, communication strategy, everything across the board. The recent estimates suggest, and that's kind of a very generic formula, but it's this $1 billion in highway construction supports 13,000 jobs. That's a big number when you're talking about our numbers. So think about opportunity again, 100 to 150,000 jobs for the program in this region. Agreements will include requirements for job training, fair hiring practices, and goals and programs for minority and disadvantaged and small businesses of all shapes and all sizes. MDOT is creating a new partnership structure. We want to structure this around opportunity for minority and disadvantaged workers, including job training programs, apprenticeships, and additional incentives to retain workers. Again, opportunity. Helping people gain valuable skills, life-changing skills, helping you find those opportunities. Due to the nature of the work, the large portion of construction, operating, and maintenance expenditure will stay in Maryland, but we want to expand and develop that workforce. We need you here. We need players here that are not here today. We need to expand that workforce and provide that opportunity. You're looking at some of the success stories that are somewhat comparable. So 495 and 95, the express lanes in Virginia, $6.3 billion in economic activity, $775 million for small women and minority contracts, 28,000 jobs supported. So there we are again with opportunity. 28,000 jobs supported, we're looking at 100 to 150 just based on that basic calculation. Critical success to our program. The purple line, we established DBE goals of 26% for design, 22% construction, 26% design goal, 27 million, already exceeded. 22% construction goal, well on pace at $362 million in business for that community. Maximizing opportunities. Under Governor Hogan's administration, MDOT is committed to implementing and providing opportunities within this program. It's not only your typical minority business inclusion, on-the-job training, but building that program, a new approach for MDOT to partner with businesses for successful inclusion, diversity, and employment of workforce development. Development, opportunity, that's going to be at the core of what we're trying to achieve. The vision for this opportunity, and this is just the beginning of the vision. We're looking for you to bring those to us as we do at every step of this project. Robust mentorship programs for minority and women-owned disadvantaged businesses and small business enterprises. Fostering new DBE firms, skill development to increase the available firms and opportunities in the marketplace. Creating opportunities for prime contractors and DBE firms to collaborate on business ventures together. Developing that opportunity together. Maximizing opportunities for small, women, minority, disadvantaged, and veteran-owned businesses. All critical to the success of this program for the duration of this program. Offering extensive on-the-job training programs and apprenticeship opportunities to provide new skills and new career paths and new opportunities for those workers and that workforce. Proactive engagement and partnering with communities who would benefit. Incentives for companies to keep workers for the duration of the project. We're not talking about just hiring someone. We're talking about hiring and keeping someone, helping someone take that opportunity and build their career. Our P3 opportunities, as we see them today, this is just the foundation for it. As we have the developer, design, construction, contractor, we see those opportunities in subcontractors, quality management subcontractors, operations and maintenance subcontractors, design subconsultants, as well as testing labs, and a whole host of other opportunities that fall within that realm. We have a certification process that we're going to be following as we do with all of our operations. We have a great program. I see our Deputy Secretary Earl Lewis here with us today. Really provides a lot of guidance in that program and has been helping us guide it along the way. We have an official certification process. My encouragement for all of you today that if you're not in it, start to get in it now. start having those conversations. It's based on requirements prescribed for each program, including walking you through the process. We can submit your applications online. They're available today. Start that process today because we will need you. And moving forward, let me hand it back over to Lisa to talk a little bit about where we go from here, where we go from this industry forum, and where we go together as we move forward.
Thanks, Greg. Greg's presentation only skims the surface of the robust workforce development program that is envisioned in support of the P3 program. And we will be hosting future forums that will focus in more detail on the significant opportunities for the MBE-DBE participation. But looking forward, here are the next steps for the Phase 1 schedule. As Jeff mentioned earlier in the presentation, the pre-solicitation report was submitted on December 11th, and it's our goal to seek the Board of Public Works a P3 designation for this program in late February, this coming 2019. We will then be issuing the request for qualifications in April with a shortlist shortly thereafter. A draft request for proposals will be issued to the shortlist in the third quarter of 2019, with a final RFP released in the first quarter of 2020. Technical and financial proposals will be due, and selection will be made of a preferred proposer in the third quarter of 2020. And then we will seek the Board of Public Works approval on the P3 agreement in the fourth quarter, executing the agreement and bring to financial close before the end of the year in 2020. So don't everybody run away. I'm going to bring Pete up here in a moment, but I just want to give you a few closing remarks for this presentation. MDOT staff will be available at the front of this room today to answer any individual questions that you might have. As mentioned before the break, we will continue to have industry partners hosting tables outside of the room. We will also have MDOT staff hosting tables ready to answer questions you might have and provide more information on the opportunities to enhance the chance of participation in our MBE-DBE program. We encourage you to take this time today. We have this venue until 12 o'clock to network, start the conversation, and build relationships as we take on this exciting program. And now I'm going to turn it over to Pete.
Another opportunity for applause, isn't it? You can see we have a fantastic team in place. We have made selections of team members based on the fact that they are the A team, that they are up to the task to deliver on this kind of a project. I think the staff will affirm to you that one of the signs that I have on the wall of my office is a gift that was given to me from my time as director in Missouri, in which I constantly was telling them to get things done faster. That was my standard, was it needs to be done faster. I was cutting everything by half. I figured out eventually that they just started adding time to allow me to cut, so I started cutting it by 2/3, and on we went. So at one point, I was then given a speed limit sign that said warp 7. And they said, would that be fast enough? And I said, let's get there and I'll let you know. So my expectations are that we complete our jobs quickly, but done very well. There was a bumper sticker I saw once, and it simply said, dreams minus action equals squat. So we dream big and we act. So my motto going into the second term for Governor Hogan is quite simply, be extraordinary, be first. And that's where we're headed. And we want you to be with us on that trip. So thank you very much. Yeah.